March is Realmathon month, and one of the huge point makers for Realmathon is a book with an urban setting. Now, urban settings can be interpreted different ways. For me, I'm just considering this a book that is set primarily in a city or has a prominent city setting. It does not have to be modern. The city can be, more of a fantasy type city, but just not like a small town or a village or just a castle, that kind of thing. If you have no idea what Realmathon is though, this is a competitive based readathon hosted by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. And she has graciously asked me to co-host the Stingers team, and so I want to make sure that I'm getting my team all of the points possible. So another recommendation video coming for you guys. I will leave all the information for that down in the description in case you guys have not yet heard about it and you want to join. But I actually love a good city setting. It doesn't necessarily have to be modern, although a post-apocalyptic fantasy world is something I'm eating up right now and absolutely need more of. But just those books that, I don't know, the hustle and bustle, and there's just something about them that really works for me, and so I cannot wait to read more of them in the month of March. I am also looking for recommendations, so if you have any, please leave them down in the comments for me and for everybody else. So let's jump into some recommendations. I have some obvious ones and maybe some that haven't been as recommended on my channel. So let's first just quickly mention the obvious one, the one that I'm hoping everybody has either picked up or planning to pick up for this readathon, and that is House of Bane and Blood by Alexis L. Menard. This book is everything. This couple is incredible. This is like a steampunk type setting where we have trains, and our female main character is actually the heiress to a train empire. And in order to save her empire, she enters into an arranged marriage. We have Nico, the guy with a metal hand, and he really knows how to use it, if you know what I mean. This book had some amazing banter. The arranged marriage of convenience trope was done impeccably well in here. And the world and the setting is just so unique, unlike anything that I had read from before. If you have not picked up this book yet, I'm literally screaming at you. Please read this because it was so good. And it's a duology, so you could read the first and the second book during Realmathon. Next up is an oldie but a goodie, and one that I feel like has been making its resurgence a little bit on BookTube. This book is actually one of my old school favorites. It's one of the books that got me back into reading, and it is a nostalgic favorite of mine that I might reread during Realmathon, but I'm a little bit scared too because I'm like, what if I don't love it as much on reread? But I can recommend it with my whole heart currently. So that's what I'm gonna do, and that is Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This is the Arcane special edition that is absolutely stunning, and I adore this series. It's set in Dublin, Ireland. It is modern day. It's not really paranormal. It leans more fantasy because we actually have fae in here, and our main character can see the fae. This is not common. Not a lot of people can, but she has the power to do so. And when her sister goes off to Dublin and goes missing, she leaves Georgia, heads to Ireland in order to try to find out what happened to her sister. Along the way, she meets Barons, this mysterious guy that owns a bookshop. She doesn't know anything about him, but she's determined to get to the bottom of this. This series, the first five, has my whole heart. Now, after the first five, I have not really read much of those. This concludes in the first 5 books, but if you have not read this series, it's short. Look, it's not very long. You should just pick it up. Also want to recommend A Touch of Golden Madness by K.L. DeVore. The banter is a lot of fun. Our female main character is sassy AF. She is so sassy, and I loved her and Griffin's kind of back and forth relationship. I thought a lot of the emotion in here was really well done. I will say that it is not the best written book of all time. There's definitely some writing struggles, mostly in the beginning, but with the audiobook, I didn't notice that at all. This book is set in a dystopian, I think our world, but don't quite quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's our world, where kinetics and elementals have been at war with one another. We have the princess to the kinetic throne, and she is determined to take down the elementals, especially a guy named Griffin, who she blames for killing her boyfriend Slade. Her father is the absolute worst, and this book was just so much fun, honestly. I read through it super fast. Again, would recommend the audiobook. The second book is not out yet, but there is also the prequel, which is Embrace of Steel and Shadows. I did not like this one as much, so I will softly recommend it. The audiobook is not out for it yet, but you could easily binge through both of these. They will both count for urban setting. Let's throw in a fantasy in here. Most of these are romantasy, but I do have a couple that are not, and that is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. Actually, DNF Don't Come For Me, Sword of Kaigen, but this one I really enjoyed. It is set in a city where the magic is basically physics, and I just thought that the magic system was so cool. This is definitely an oppressed society type story, so check triggers because there's a lot of deep discussions that are had in here. I gave this a 4-star. Thought it was very impactful and had amazing discussions. It is a little bit in your face, so if you don't love that, this may not work for you, but I thought that done in this fantasy world, it was beautifully, beautifully written, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for something a little more on the fantasy scale that doesn't have as much romance in it. I'm not gonna say Crescent City because you already know that Crescent City is an urban setting, but one that is very similar that might not be on your radar is City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. I read this one at the beginning of the year and I liked it but did not love it. However, I am very excited to get into the sequel and I will personally be reading it for Realmathon. This is set in a world very similar to ours, but it is a fantasy world primarily set in a city, the City of Gods and Monsters, where there are demons that are coming out at night. We have witches, we have vampires, we have werewolves, and then we also have these like demon hunter, bounty hunter guys called the Dark Slayers. One day our main character Lauren is out with her friends. They need to get home and they accidentally wait until it is dark and they're gonna risk it. They're gonna walk and hope that they don't get attacked by any demons when Dark Slayers come and steal her best friend, and she thinks they were actually after her and she doesn't know why. She enters into this unlikely alliance with the leader of the House of Devils in order to help find her missing friend, and he has an ulterior motive, a hidden agenda that she doesn't know about as well. This is very reminiscent of Crescent City, but I also feel like it holds its own. It's its own story. So if you liked Crescent City and you want something with similar vibes, I would pick this one up, but it's not exact. It's not the same storyline. So if you are worried about that, I would still recommend this. This is fun. It is chunky, but I feel like it goes by relatively quickly. And I, like I said, am very excited to read book 2 and hopefully enjoy it even more. My main problem in this one was actually Lauren. I just wanted her to have a little bit more agency, be a little bit more tough. So if you're not one of those people that just has to have a super, super strong female lead, this may work for you right off the bat. While we're talking about books that are similar-ish to Crescent City, that have like similar vibes, I'll recommend Speak of the Demon by Stasia Stark. This one actually reminds me more of Angel's Blood by Nalini Singh, which can also be added to this list. It is also a city setting. This is about our main character and she is a demon hunter. Her main objective is to figure out who killed her mother. She knows it was a demon, but she has been basically working with these mages to give her people to go and hunt so that she can find more information about who killed her mother. But she gets herself into a bit of hot water and ends up bonded for a short period of time by one of the main demons. He's given her 2 weeks to figure out who is killing off all of these demons, or she is bonded to him for life. This was fun. I think that it lacked a little bit of depth for me personally, but if you're looking for something just quick, a little bit spicy, urban setting, kind of has that old school paranormal romance vibe, I think you would really, really enjoy this one. And I will be reading the sequel as well, so I do recommend this one. Just go into it for fun times. Okay, let's go over another one that is not a romantasy, but we have a contemporary romance this time, which is Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. Our female main character in this one actually works in a hospital. This is definitely a city setting, but she has a thing for masked men, and she just goes to work, goes home, goes to work, and goes home because of some trauma that she had when she was a child. But in her spare time, the few little bit that she has, she likes to watch these TikToks of this thirst trap guy who is a masked man, and the guy that's on the other end of the camera never goes out. He is actually the son of a famous serial killer, and so he doesn't want anybody to see his face because he looks a lot like his father. By day, he's a hacker. By night, he is the masked man, and he decides that he is going to basically stalk her and give her what her wildest dreams have always been. They're going to play this little bit of a game together, except for is she in on the game? So definitely check triggers for this, but it's a rom-com, like a dark rom-com in a similar way to Butcher and Blackbird. This one doesn't have the serial killer aspect to it, but it's just a fun time. Super, super smutty, like 4 chili peppers out of 5. So if you're not looking for something that is very spicy, maybe don't pick this up. The thing that kept me, I think, from giving it a 5-star was actually just how much spice was in it. I wanted more plot. I do think the spice was really good. The characters were fun. The banter was entertaining. So if you're looking for a quick palate cleanser that's an urban setting, this one could really work for you. One I almost forgot about, and I think this is a city setting. So don't come for me if it's not, because the setting is not like the prominent part of this story, but I am 95% sure that A Blood and Ether by Harper Hawthorne is a city setting. This is the Fabled edition. This is a city setting because in the synopsis it literally says that she's going to the heart of the City of Gods. I was pretty sure that it was. This is following Arkan, and she is a conduit of light. She has actually a lot of different ether magic, but she's hiding most of it away. She uses her light powers to get her into the City of Gods and enter into this prestigious academy where she is going to learn to hone her powers in order to try to save someone back home. And then we have the spy master whose powers are the shadows, and he is just completely infatuated by her. He is charged with investigating some really strange disappearances, and he is going to need her help in order to figure it out. My main issue with this was it was a little insta-lovey, so if that's a super big turn off for you, you might not like this, but the magic system in this was so cool, so different, unique, interesting. Reminded me a little bit of the magic system of A House of Bane and Blood, but not like one for one. So I would definitely recommend giving this one a try. I think this was the author's first work, so I'm really curious to see how the sequel amps everything up. There is some darkness in here. I want to say it may turn into a Why Choose, which I'm very excited about. Unfortunately, the sequel is not out yet, but the first book is pretty short and a really fun time. Moving on, let's see, our last fantasy, and kind of an obvious one, but one that I did want to put back on your radar because it is a little bit of an older one, is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. The newest book actually just came out, so if you decide to pick this up and binge through the series, you'll have 5 books plus a novella that you can read. This is following Paige Mahoney, who lives in a world of clairvoyance. This is set in a post-apocalyptic London where Scion is essentially this like overlord, and they are terrified of the clairvoyants and basically want them all gone. Paige works as one of the moishers for one of the criminal underlords. She is accidentally captured and taken away to this place called the Bone Season, and finds out that there is a lot more going on and a lot more to kind of the Scion and why things are the way they are than she could have ever imagined. This first one is set enough in London, I think you could count it, but it's primarily taking place in the Bone Season, so this first book might be a little bit of a stretch, but the continuing books, the novella plus the books that I've read so far, 2, 3, and 4, are absolutely set in a city. It's just this first one that's only kind of set in a city, but I still think you could probably count it. Hopefully Cassidy won't kill me. If you get confused in this first book, go back and read The Pale Dreamer, which is the novella. You don't have to read that, but it can kind of clear up some of the more complicated world building that happens in this one if it's bothering you. I personally did not read it before reading The Bone Season, and I was fine, but if you're newer to fantasy or you're just intimidated by the book, start with The Pale Dreamer. It'll give you a great foundation into the world and the characters. 2 more to go. We have The Wren and the Holly Library. This one is a newer one that came out last year that is also set in a post-apocalyptic world, this time New York City. There's just something about a post-apocalyptic city setting in a fantasy world that is really working for me. But we have got monsters that have come out, and there's finally been an accord made with the monsters so that they won't kill the humans and the humans won't kill them. She is a thief. She goes to steal something from the Holly Library and realizes the guy she's trying to steal from is actually a monster. He enlists her help. There's going to be a heist. This was just a fun time. It's not groundbreaking, but I enjoyed it. I thought the audiobook was really good, and so I definitely wanted to mention it in case you hadn't heard of it or didn't realize that it was urban. And the last book that I wanted to mention is This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. This is a Persian-inspired fantasy, and the city in this is definitely more historical side of things, but I still think it would count as a city setting. Our main character is just trying to make ends meet. She's actually working as not really a slave, but she's kind of treated that way, but more of a seamstress and a maid to one of these more prominent families. She is actually a jinn, and people are pretty scared of jinn. There's like this treaty that's been made with them, but the king is petrified of them, and he is determined to try to kill off the jinn heir. We also have the point of view of the son of the king, and he becomes infatuated very quickly with our female main character, and so we do have a little bit of insta love. This is YA, but I think it's a well-written YA. This first book is a lot of setup, so it was a little bit slow, but once I got to the end of this, I was like, are we gonna get another love interest? The world is starting to expand. I think we're gonna go off to a different setting, and I really enjoyed it, so I will definitely be continuing on in this series and wanted to mention it in case you weren't aware that this does have a pretty prominent urban setting. Those are all of the books that I have to recommend to you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found something new to check out. Again, if you have recommendations, let me know in the comments below. This video obviously will work for any time of year if you're just looking for a good book with an urban setting, but we are filming this in honor of Realmathon, so please, if you have not already, go check it out. Everything's going to be, like I said, linked down in the description box below, and go Stingers. I will leave up here my previous recommendation video for Realmathon. If you are on Team Stingers, then you may want to check out this video for your next book boyfriend. If you are not on Team Stingers, but you just want to know what some of my favorite romantasy has been lately, you might want to check this out as well. As always, thank you guys so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!